The Penghu or Pescadores Islands are an archipelago of 64 islands and islets in the Taiwan Strait between China and Taiwan. The largest city is Magong, located on the largest island, which is also named Peng. Covering an area of 141 square kilometers, the archipelago collectively forms Penghu County of Taiwan. It is the second smallest county in the country after Lienchiang. Name: the traditional English name of the islands, the Pescadores, comes from the Portuguese name Ilhas dos Pescadores. The Portuguese pronunciation is Pe Florin Kea degree A3/4 E Florin, but, in English, it is typically closer to or. The islands have also been called Pio. Pescadores was also the name given by the Spanish expedition of Hernando de Grijalva in 1537 to the Micronesian atoll Kapingarangi. History: finds of fine red cord-marked pottery indicate that Peng was visited by people from southwestern Taiwan around 5,000 years ago, though not settled permanently. Han Chinese from southern Fujian began to establish fishing communities on the islands in the 9th and 10th centuries, and representatives were intermittently stationed there by the southern Song and Yuan governments from around 1170. The islands are described in some detail in Wang Dayuan's Dao Yizi Lu. Ming Dynasty In the 15th century, the Ming ordered the evacuation of the islands as part of their maritime ban. When these restrictions were removed in the late 16th century, fishing communities were re-established on the islands, giving rise to its Portuguese and then English name. The Ming established a military presence in 1603, repelling a Dutch attempt to establish a base on the islands in 1622. Ming Dutch War. The Dutch East India Company tried to use military force to make China open up a port in Fujian to trade and demanded that China expel the Portuguese from Macau, whom the Dutch were fighting in the Dutch-Euro-Portuguese War. The Dutch raided Chinese shipping after 1618 and took junks hostage in an unsuccessful attempt to get China to meet their demands. The Dutch were defeated by the Portuguese at the Battle of Macau in 1622. That same year, the Dutch seized Peng, built a fort there, and continued to demand that China open up ports in Fujian to Dutch trade. China refused, with the Chinese governor of Fujian Shang Zhuo demanding that the Dutch withdraw from the Pescadores to Formosa, where the Chinese would permit them to engage in trade. This led to a war between the Dutch and China between 1622 and 1624, which ended with the Chinese being successful in making the Dutch withdraw to Taiwan and abandoning Pescadores. The Dutch threatened that China would face Dutch raids on Chinese ports and shipping unless the Chinese allowed trading on Peng, and that China not trade with Manila but only with the Dutch in Batavia and Siam and Cambodia. China wasn't persuaded by these threats. After Shang ordered them to withdraw to Taiwan on September 19 of 1622, the Dutch raided Xiamen on October and November. The Dutch intended to induce the Chinese to trade by force or from fear by raiding Fujian and Chinese shipping from the Pescadores. Long artillery batteries were erected at Amoy in March 1622 by Colonel Li Kunghua as a defense against the Dutch. On the Dutch attempt in 1623 to force China to open up a port, 5 Dutch ships were sent to Luo and the mission ended in failure for the Dutch, with a number of Dutch sailors taken prisoner and one of their ships lost. In response to the Dutch using captured Chinese for forced labor and strengthening their garrison in Peng with 5 more ships in addition to the 6 already there, the new governor of Fujian Nanju was permitted by China to begin preparations to attack the Dutch forces in July 1623. A Dutch raid was defeated by the Chinese at Amoy on October 1623, with the Chinese taking the Dutch commander Christian Franks prisoner and burning one of the 4 Dutch ships. The Chinese began an offensive on February 1624 with warships and troops against the Dutch in Peng with the intent of expelling them. The Chinese offensive reached a Dutch fort on July 30, 1624, with 5,000 Chinese troops and 40 to 50 warships under General Wang Mengxiong surrounding the fort commanded by Martin Sonck, and the Dutch were forced to sue for peace on August 3 and folded before the Chinese demands, withdrawing from Peng to Taiwan. The Dutch admitted that their attempt at military force to coerce China into trading with them had failed with their defeat in Peng. At the Chinese victory celebrations over the Red-Haired Barbarians, as the Dutch were called by the Chinese, Nanju paraded 12 Dutch soldiers who were captured before the emperor in Beijing. The Dutch did not expect the subsequent Chinese attack on their fort in Peng, since they thought of them as timid and from their experience in Southeast Asia as a faint-hearted troop. After the Dutch defeat and expulsion from the Pescadores in the 1622–1624, they were totally driven off China's coast when they were decisively defeated by Chinese forces under Admiral Zheng Zilong at the Battle of Liaoluo Bay in 1633, and then in 1662 they were defeated and driven off Taiwan at the siege of Fort Zealandia by Chinese forces under Zhang Chenggong. Qing dynasty For a period in the mid-17th century, Taiwan and the archipelago were ruled by the Koxinga Kingdom, which was overthrown by the Qing dynasty in 1683 after the Battle of Peng. The Peng archipelago was captured by the French in March 1885, in the closing weeks of the Sino-French War, and evacuated 4 months later. The Pescadores campaign was the last campaign of Admiral Armor Corbett, whose naval victories during the war had made him a national hero in France. Corbett was among several French soldiers and sailors who succumbed to cholera during the French occupation of Peng. He died aboard his flagship Bayard in Magong Harbor on June 11, 1885. Empire of Japan Defeated in northern China by the Japanese in the First Sino-Japanese War, the Qing government ceded the islands to Japan along with Taiwan in the Sino-Japanese Treaty of Shimonoseki of April 1895. The Japanese suspected that they might meet resistance when they attempted to occupy Taiwan, and their invasion of Taiwan, hastily launched in late May 1895 in response to the proclamation of the Republic of Formosa, was preceded by an attack on Qing forces on Peng in March 1895, in which the Japanese defeated the Chinese garrison of the islands and occupied Magong. The Japanese occupation of Peng prevented more Chinese troops from being sent to Taiwan, persuaded the Chinese negotiators at Shimonoseki that Japan was determined to annex Taiwan, and helped to ensure the success of the subsequent Japanese invasion of Taiwan. Peng County was then called the Hakko Prefecture by the Japanese government of Taiwan. In the Second Sino-Japanese War, Malacca was a major base for the Imperial Japanese Navy and embarkation point for the invasion of the Philippines. Republic of China In the Cairo Declaration of 1943, the United States, the United Kingdom and China stated it to be their purpose that all the territories that Japan has stolen from the Chinese, such as Formosa and the Pescadores, shall be restored to the Republic of China. On July 26, 1945, the three governments issued the Potsdam Declaration, declaring that the terms of the Cairo Declaration shall be carried out. In the Treaty of San Francisco, signed in 1951 and coming into effect in 1952, Japan renounced sovereignty over Taiwan and Peng, but left their final disposition unsettled. The archipelago has been administered by the Republic of China since that time. In the early 1990s, the Peng National Scenic Area that comprises most but not all of the islands and islets of the archipelago was created. Tourism has since become one of the main sources of income of the county. On May 25, 2002, China Airlines Flight 611, a Boeing 747-200 aircraft flying from Taipei to Hong Kong, disintegrated and exploded over the islands. The wreckage slammed into the Taiwan Strait, a couple of miles off the coast. All 225 passengers and crew on board were killed. Starting January 1, 2015. Tourists from mainland China can directly apply the exit and entry permit upon arrival in Peng. This privilege also applies to Kinmen and Matsu Islands as means to boost tourism in the outlying islands of Taiwan. Government. Peng County is administered by Peng County Government headed by Magistrate Chen Qiang-fu of the Democratic Progressive Party and headquartered at the Peng County Hall. County administration Peng County is divided into one city, 5 rural townships. It is further divided into 97 villages. Together with Lienchiang County, Peng County has no urban township. The county seat is located at Magong City where it houses the Peng County Hall and Peng County Council. The main islands of Magong City: Huxai Township, Besha Township, and Xiaoyu Township are the three most populous islands and are connected via bridges. Two shorter bridges connect Huxai and Besha. The bridge connecting Besha and Xiaoyu is the longest bridge in the Republic of China and is called the Peng Transoceanic Bridge. Political dispute. Despite the controversy over the political status of Taiwan, both the Republic of China and the People's Republic of China agree that Peng is a county in Taiwan province. However, geographically, the island of Taiwan does not include Peng, although it is closer to Taiwan than mainland China. Thus, Peng is listed separately from Taiwan in some contexts, for example the separate customs territory of Taiwan, Peng, Kinmen, and Matsu in the Treaty of Shimonoseki, the Cairo Declaration, and the Treaty of San Francisco. Education. Education-related matters in Peng County is administered under the Education Department of Peng County Government. The county houses the National Peng University of Science and Technology. Energy. Electricity. Peng is powered up by its only major power plant, the Lienchiang power plant, a 140 MW fuel-fired power plant commissioned in 2001. On December 24, 2010, the Taiwan Peng undersea cable project of Taipower was approved by the Executive Yuan to connect the electrical grid in Taiwan Island to Peng. Renewable energy. Under a wind power development project approved in 2002 by the Executive Yuan, the ROC government plans to set up a total of 200 wind turbines in Peng within 10 years. However, only 14 turbines have been set up as of 2015. On October 1, 2015, Taipower announced the construction of another 11 new wind turbines across the island, in which 6 will be constructed in Huxai Township and 5 in Besha Township. Tourist attractions. Historical sites. Historical sites in the county are the Central Street and Kaimu Lighthouse. Museums. Museums in the county are Ocean Resources Museum and Peng Living Museum. Nature. Peng County is boasted with many nature attractions such as Peng National Scenic Area, Double Heart of Stacked Domes, Little Taiwan and Whale Cave. Transportation. Airport. Peng is served by its domestic Magong Airport built in Magong City and Kaimu Airport built in Kaimu Township. Both airports were opened in 1977. See also: Administrative divisions of the Republic of China, County, List of cities in the Republic of China, Peng National Scenic Area. References. Citations. Works cited. Further reading: Cook, Harold John. Matters of Exchange, Commerce, Medicine, and Science in the Dutch Golden Age. Yale University Press. ISBN 0-300-13492-4. Retrieved March 10, 2014. Deng, Gang. Maritime Sector, Institutions, and Sea Power of Pre-Modern China. Greenwood Publishing Group. ISBN 0-313-30712-1. ISSN 0084-9235. Idema, Wilt Lucas, ed. Leiden Studies in Sinology, papers presented at the conference held in celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Sinological Institute of Leiden University, December 8–12, 1980. Volume 15 of Sinica Leodensia. Contributor Ij Universiteit te Leiden. Sinologisch Institute. Brill ISBN 9789004065291. OCLC 8767304. Lee, Kingson. Maritime Silk Road. Translated by William W. Wang. China Intercontinental Press. ISBN 9787508509327. OCLC 781420577. Parker, Edward Harper, ed. China, Her History, Diplomacy, and Commerce, from the Earliest Times to the Present Day. J. Murray. LCCN 17030891. OL 66039222M. B. Dragon Todd de Tal, Land en Vocankund van Nederlandsch India, Volume 145. Contributor Koninklijk Instituut voor Taal, Land en Vocankund M. Nijhoff 1989. Retrieved March 10, 2014. External links, Peng Travel Guide from Wikivoyage, Peng County Government, Peng Tour Official Website, E3/4 e to the first CCAE CEO Florence C1-eta plus or minus EE1/4 1 Florin E cubed ESHC paragraph squared E plus or minus EE Living Museum.